Hello, everyone. My name is Conrad. On behalf of CameraStuff, as you should know by now, welcome to yet another episode of In the Limelight, where we dig into the South African photographic industry and we find some incredibly talented people to chat with. So tonight we're joined by Rais Salie. He represents Evoke Imagery. So we recently featured him on CameraStuff and got a lot of engagement. And we thought, why not have a chat with the guy? So let me just give you a bit of a taste as to what the guy is capable of. Let me just share a screen here. Just going to remove this chat box for the time being. All right, so this is his Instagram page, and you can see just a wee bit of a glimpse as to what Rais is capable of. Exceptionally talented photographer. And tonight we are going to deep dive into his mind, ask a bunch of questions, and we get to learn what's up with the world of Rais Salie and Evoke Imagery. So thank you for joining. If you are joining, watching, please do drop your name and where you're from. Introduce yourself, and we can get a bit of a conversation going as well. And as always, if you have something to say, a comment or a question, do drop that in the comment section as well. So I think without further ado, let me just put out the screen. Let's introduce our guest, shall we? Hello there, how are you doing?
Hey brother, how's it going? I'm good, man. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you so much. What did you get up to today?
Uh, been quite a busy day, brother. Work,
Hmm.
family responsibilities, running around getting everything set up for the interview.
Good, good.
And
All
you,
right.
how?
My day was just the usual, running social media, doing graphics, creating video content, etc. Also, normal day at camera stuff, I suppose. But busy is good, I suppose. Before the
Yes,
robots take over, it's grateful to do some creative things still.
yes, yes.
Okay, so as a reminder, if you are tuning in, everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube land, do drop your name and where you're from, introduce yourself. We'll do a bit of a shout out from our end. And if you have any comments or questions, do drop that in the comment section as well. So, Rais, are you ready for the interview?
I hope so.
Well, let's start off with an easy one. And it's a question I normally start off with. How did you get into photography? So, from day one, in terms of picking up a camera, what propelled you into the world of photography?
I think it's always been something that I was interested in. I think it all started when my dad gave me an old Minolta film camera in school. I used to take photos of friends and family, and then later in life, I got myself my first DSLR, Canon 650D at the time.
Hmm.
And then I started, just learning as much as I could, YouTube University. And then I started taking landscapes. I did that for a while, and then I slowly dabbled into the whole world of portraiture. Um, yeah, and everything's basically just snowballed from there.
Yeah, so slowly but surely, a little bit at a time. Yeah, one can
Yeah.
respect that. All right, so I dropped your Instagram link in the comment section. You can see it on the screen there as well. So for everybody joining, do go and follow our guest. All right, so tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, where are you based? How long have you been doing photography? And also, what are you mostly doing today in terms of your photographic career?
Okay, I'm based in a small town called Uitenhage. It's just outside of
Hmm.
Port Elizabeth. Born and bred, grew up here. Um, I'm a full time. I work full time. I'm an automation technician. So that's basically your PLCs and robots, and then
Hmm.
part time I do the photography thing.
All right, so I see you have some representation here from Port Elizabeth as well. Courtney Whittaker, sir, thank you so much
Yeah.
for joining. All right, so just like Courtney, if you have any comments or questions, drop them in the comment section and I'll display that on the screen. In fact, you can see it in a little box on my, well, depending on your point of view, left hand side or right hand side, so we can get a bit of a conversation going. All right, so the camera that you started off with was the 650D. So what do you have in the camera bag today?
I'm using the Fujifilm X system, so I've got a
Hmm.
Fujifilm X-T3 and a Fujifilm X-T5. Um, Lenses, I've got a 56-1.2, 50-140, 16-55, and 23 more. So for portraiture, I normally just use my go-to lens would be the 56-1.2,
Sure.
my 16-55, or my 23 more. And in terms of I use the Kodak's 8600 and 8200.
Sounds like a lot of good kit. A lot to brag with. So what challenges did you encounter initially? So starting off from day one, where you are today, like, can you recall any like unique challenges that you encountered, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Challenges with regards to photography.
Yes.
Yeah, I think I struggled a bit with lighting in the start. Getting the whole two exposures, you got your ambient exposure and your flash exposure. But once I nailed that, I think it was fine. I think that was the biggest challenge with regards to photography. Aside from the initial learning how to use manual, the whole exposure triangle.
And in terms of marketing yourself, like, did you have any learning curves there as well? So also starting from day one where you are today, like, do you have any advice in terms of getting yourself out there, getting clients, getting your name visible to the potential clients out there?
Yeah, that's a difficult one because marketing, I still haven't understood that completely. I lack so much with regards to marketing. Because there's the photography business itself, there's so much that you have to handle. It's the admin, because I do everything for myself. So it's the admin, it's the social media, it's the website updating, there's so many things. So advice that I could give people with regards to marketing, I think word of mouth is the best marketing tool.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. So the advice I can give you is with every client, try and keep them happy, because they bring in the most business.
Absolutely.
Aside from that, just your usual Instagram, try and post as much as you can. Facebook, that's about it.
I think a bit of consistency is also required there. I think consistency across the board, that is required. Not only in terms of learning, but posting, so way of keeping the algorithm happy, but also a means of improving as well. Also be mindful of the type of engagement that you're getting on social media as well. So not specifically going after trends, but trying to measure what brings you in clients, what doesn't bring you in clients. Always collect data where applicable, where necessary. All right, so we have Jay from the comment section. Thank you so much again for joining, Jay. Jay here from Katu. Last week's guest was also a Fujifilm user, so Fujifilm getting very, very popular here. So jumping from Canon to Fuji, what was that experience like? Is it just a case of a camera system, the handling is much better? Like, what are your opinions from jumping from one brand to the next brand?
Fuji. Look, it was also a case of jumping from DSLR to mirrorless. So I came from the DSLR. So when I saw, you can see how the image looks before you actually take it, I was like taken aback. It's like, whoa, this is possible. And it's, a good friend of mine, Marty Marie, he actually introduced me to the whole Fujifilm system. And ever since then, I haven't looked back. I mean, it's a wonderful system to use. I haven't had any issues. Totally happy.
All right. So, question I want to ask you is: do you have any friends or family joining? Because I see someone coincidentally with the same surname as you from Rushni.
That's my baby sister, Rushni.
Hello, baby sister. Thank you for joining.
Shout out to her. Yeah, when I first started dabbling into portraiture, she was like my test model. I tell her to shoot, and then she would happily go along with me to model. So yeah.
I love this question then, because she is the answer. Who was your first model you used to perfect the photography? It's a very sneaky question. Thank you, Rashmi. Thank you. Yeah, so it's always a necessary thing. Once you get into photography, have your willing test subjects. For me, it was the pets and a rugby ball. I put a rugby ball on a chair, and I would, as you mentioned a little bit earlier, figure out the two exposure, flash exposure versus the ambient exposure, try and measure the two against one another, etc. Yeah.
Yes.
So always practice on top of everything, and it will lead you forward, most definitely. All right, so we've got some more questions and comments from Courtney yet again. One of the most defining techniques which makes your work stand out is the insane use of lighting. Your work is so refined and styled, it looks international. What is your go-to setup?
Okay, my go-to setup, it would be the 8600 as your key light. And then I'll always use like 8200 as a Limelight critical light.
That is a very popular combination, the 8600. Is it the Pro or the BM?
No, it's the base model, the BM.
The BM, yeah. So it's a very popular combination. It's what I use personally as well. It's the BM and the 8200. So obviously it's a horses for courses type of thing, but comparing the 8600 versus 8200, besides the obvious amount of output that you get, where would you normally use the 8600 versus the 8200?
The 8600 would normally be like on location because of the amount of power that it can put out. The 8600 and I've only got the two lights, so I normally like a two light setup. So I'd always use the 8600 as a key, and then your 8200 as the full or the rim, whatever.
Absolutely, yeah. So I do have the 8600. That definitely for outside work to overpower the sunlight. You're going to need a juicy light to overpower the typical South African 12 p.m. sunlight. So the 8600 does come into its own there. But I do find myself using the 8200 more often than not, especially for indoors and low light as well. Its modifiability and its lightweightedness just makes it a lot easier to travel with and a lot easier to use as well. The 8600 can be a bit of a beast to carry around, but I suppose if you have the assistant for it, or if you have a crew with you, it can certainly alleviate some of the caddy work that needs to be done. But as mentioned, very, very good combination, the 8600 BM and the 8200. All right, so in terms of light shapers, so the 8600, the 8200s, and all lights, in fact, will just supply the quantity of light. In terms of the quality of light, and it's difficult to define the quality of light. People often refer to hard light, soft light, big light, contrasty light, a variety of different adjectives people can use. What is your favorite light shaper and why?
I think I use the Godox. I forgot the size. It's actually set up here now. I'm actually using the 8600 as with the modeling lamp. I forgot the size, but it's a.
Can you turn your camera? Sorry, can you turn your camera so we can have a look?
Sure.
It's always interesting to see people's setups at home. There we go.
I don't know if you could get the size from that.
It looks like an 80 centimeter, maybe a 95.
Yeah. Reason for using it, it's those collapsible ones, so there's no rods that you need to. So that's why I normally always just use it. That's just easy to set up. There's no pins you have to put in and things, so it's perfect for on location work. And I've just gotten used to it. I mean, I know exactly if I put the light at this distance, I'm gonna get this this type of shadow. So it's second nature already.
Yeah, it's a very good point. You took the words out of my mouth. That's of second nature. Once you experiment and do different techniques over and over again, we'll just kind of fall into it, and things will become second nature. Now, as a photographer, you can give yourself more space, more breathing space to talk to your clients and figure out different posing and worry about other things. I think people tend to fuss too much about lighting and where to place the light, etc., that they kind of forget that there's an actual person standing in front of you. I know I've done that in the past as well. So this is why experimenting and practicing will definitely take you a long way, because you want to shoot in a way that is second nature, where your subconsciousness in a way is taking over, and now your consciousness is in direct communication with your client, which I think some people tend to neglect sometimes.
Yes.
All right, so a lot of comments. I think I tapped on this one already, again from JB here. Same here, it was really just a mirrorless thing, and now I am hooked as well. And a real thing, what you see is literally what you get. So here, referring to the mirrorless system.
Yes.
That's a big topic nowadays, but I think it's becoming a bit of a one-sided argument. Maybe a handful of years ago, it was an interesting debate, mirrorless versus DSLR, but I think mirrorless has won the competition by now.
Yeah, it's the future. I mean, yeah.
All right, so thank you for your comment. And again, from Jay, same here, but since I got 2 BMs, that's a lovely couple of lights to have. I use it for a roam key, but any day I really love using my 8200 Pro. That's a good combination as serve 2 different purposes. The 8600s, as mentioned, will deliver that powerful light, as pointed out by Kendon. Thank you for joining. As mentioned, but the 8200 just comes into its own, as well as a supplementary light source. Sometimes it's a key light as well, depending if you have, depending on the overall ambient light that you need to work with. All right, so we kind of touched on direct communication with your clients. So how do you go about creating natural poses? Like, do you have posing techniques that you can share with us?
Yeah. I think that's one aspect that I really struggle with as well. I think every photographer struggles with the whole posing thing. Any advice?
I think that's a good step. It's something that we do all tend to struggle with, instead of pretending that it's not there. So it is a art in itself, learning how to capture natural poses from people, and it's also a learning process. So the more you do photography, the more you'll understand body language and what looks natural versus what looks fake, etc. So I think it is about, again, communicating with a client on the day, and experimenting with different things, getting feedback from your client, creating that line of communication and saying, hey, does this feel good? Doesn't this feel good? Are you comfortable doing X, Y, and Z? I think models typically, especially with clients, not specifically models, but they can be quite shy and introverted, and so they may not be willing to say anything. So it is your job as a photographer to keep that communication going, to always have something to say and asking questions and whatnot.
Yeah.
So,
and
so
them being comfortable as well.
Sorry, say again. I lost that.
The importance of actually keeping your client comfortable, like they should be comfortable in front of you, and
absolutely. It's
but I think with posing, don't try, and I think as photographers we try and remember too many poses.
Yes.
We have this Pinterest image. Okay, this. So what I try and do is I'll have a base pose, and then I'll just do micro adjustments to that pose.
Yes. No, so that's a very, very good way of going about it.
You change your hand position, you change the head position, you change small things on the base pose. And then once you've run through everything, then you can change up to the side. And then you also do micro adjustments to the side view. And then to the front view, also micro adjustments. It helps a lot. Instead of trying to remember hand on the head, hand on the hip, that becomes way too overwhelming. So micro adjustments.
Micro adjustments, little changes at a time. It can be quite miraculous what a difference it can make when a person looks left and right, especially in relation to key light. So just making finer adjustments as opposed to having the posing sheet by your side, as you mentioned.
Yes.
The Pinterest board, and you'll tell your model, okay, do this one, I'll do this one, 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 and it can be a bit overwhelming on a day. But I think, as you explained it, that's a very good way of going about things. So find something that looks natural and just shape it like clay, little bit by little bit, instead of trying to force something out of nothing, especially once you find something, then shifting to something completely different. It's not every person that can give you 60 poses in 60 seconds. So just working with something at base level, a good foundation, making little adjustments as you go along. All right, so conceptualizing for a photo shoot. So you have an idea here. How do you take that idea and bring it to life? So this also relates to how you communicate with the clients. How do you make sure everybody's on the same page? So let's start off with that. How do you bring your concepts to life, and how do you make sure that your clients understand the project at hand?
Okay, so I would basically find out from the client what their vision is with regards to the shoot. And then from there, I meet up with the client, we create a mood board. The mood board will basically consist of possible locations for the shoot. It will consist of wardrobe, makeup, poses. And then from there, we would decide on a date and a location, and we'll just try and execute the concept as best as we can.
All right. So now it's the ever popular mood board. How do you go about presenting a mood board to your client? Like, what does your mood boards typically look like? Is it like a collection of pins from Pinterest, or do you specifically create a collage with reference images?
I basically just create a mood board on Pinterest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way of going about it. Yeah. So to make sure that everybody's on the same page, you don't want surprises on the day, people wearing the same wrong stuff, or people being at the wrong location or having the wrong hairstyles and whatnot. Yeah, so definitely have your references images handy prior to the shoot, but obviously on the day, everything can and will evolve as well. So don't specifically plan for every little detail, just allow things to flourish and evolve on a day as well. All right, so next question from my side. What do you enjoy most about being a photographer?
The thing I enjoy most, I think the part about photography I enjoy the most is the actual shoot. The feeling of having camera in hand with concept in mind, trying to bring your vision to life. I think that for me is the most fun part, and especially when you nail the shot and you execute the vision like perfectly. That is the most amazing feeling. I also love meeting new people, because with every client you meet different people from all walks of life, which is also amazing. Yeah, I think that for me is the best part.
And any memorable moments that stood out to you? So from start to finish up until this point, is there like one or two moments that you thought to yourself, yeah, this is where I belong, this is what I want to do, I am a photographer? Like any memorable moments that stand out to you?
Off the top of my head, I've been blessed to shoot a couple of campaign photo shoots for a clothing store, and that's also been like an awesome experience, seeing the photos that you took up in the shops and on the windows, billboards. And then I think most recently being featured by you guys. I think this is also an amazing platform that you guys have created, showcasing the photographers and all the work that they do. So big ups to CameraStuff.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah, we do want to showcase what our local talented photographers are getting up to. It's very important to spread the love and to make sure that we are communicating with one another. It is very important in today's economic landscape and all the terrible things happening. It's, we need to have discussions, because as a creative person, it's both a blessing and a burden. Like if you're surrounded by negativity and things are not looking too good, that creative mind can go everywhere, or you can just kill that creative spirit as well. So by having conversations like this and showcasing what local great photographers are up to, it just helps to kindle the general spirit that is out there in the industry. So we thank you as well for participating, sharing insights, sharing advice. This is what is going to keep the industry moving forward. So thank you for participating. All right, so more questions from my side. I think on topic what we discussed, how do you keep yourself motivated and inspired? So things may get difficult and gloomy and doomy every now and then, but how do you keep the gears working upstairs? Keeping up with your inspirations and aspirations.
I think the way that I stay inspired or motivated or creative is I try and do at least one passion project every month. Sometimes I might not achieve that, but I think passion projects every month is what really keeps the creativity going. So my Pinterest is full of concepts that I've, in the past just pinned a few things. So I'd grab a concept and then organize a model or whoever, and then we'll just go out and have fun and then just be creative without any constraints of client's needs or whatever. You're just there to do what you want and create what you want.
All right. So can you describe to the audience what a passion project is and any recent examples that you can give us?
Yeah, I haven't done any recently, but a passion project is basically if you see an amazing image by a well-known photographer, whoever, like John Russo or whatever, and you see this project, this photograph that is taken, and you really love it, and you would like to recreate it or do something similar. So you would pin a bunch of dresses or makeup artists or whatever with regards to this special concept, and then it's something that you just do in your free time as something fun, you and a model or whoever, and you just go out and create.
So we had this discussion in a prior interview about doing quote unquote free work, which is something that you should kind of be mindful of, allowing yourself to do passion projects, not anything that you strictly need to charge for. That would be lovely if you can get money out of it. But the point of a passion project is to invigorate the creativity, to spark something that you may have been working on or thinking about, in terms of, it may sound cheesy to say, but something that where you can put your soul and heart out there. So a passion project is not necessarily something that a client may want, but it's something that you want to put into the world. It may be something personal, or it's just about having a conversation with your audience, or having, it could be personal as well. It could be like just a secret project as well, something that you don't necessarily have to show to people, but it's just important to feed the soul every now and then. So when you do quote unquote free photo shoots, make sure that you make it count towards your end goals, and make it count towards learning something, and also, again, to sound cheesy, make sure that you're feeding that photographic soul that's within you. All right, so everybody out there in Facebook and YouTube land, please do drop your questions and comments in the comment section. Let's get a nice conversation going. So if you have anything to ask Rais, please do drop that in the comment section, and you'll see it display in the little box here, which you can see right next to our faces. So more questions from my end. Can you explain your post-processing process? So from start to finish, when uploading the photos onto your computer, like what software do you use? How fussy are you in terms of editing? And on average, what amount of time would you spend on a single image?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I'm somewhat of a lazy editor. I'm not somebody that delves very deep into the whole Photoshop game. My typical workflow would be uploading into Lightroom, and then I'll do basic adjustments in there, your exposure, contrast, that type of thing. And then if need be, I would take it into Photoshop to do whatever. But yeah, I don't heavy edit it.
All right, so let's talk about the industry. Where do you see the industry going in the next couple of years' time? And if you could change something about the South African industry, specifically speaking, what would that be? Like, if you have a complaint about the local industry, what about it would you change?
Yeah, I think with the local industry, I think pricing. Photographers, like the way they charge, like, I don't know. I think for us as photographers in general, normally like undercut ourselves. I don't know how it is in Johannesburg, but especially here in the Eastern Cape, like, prices are very, very low. And each time there's a new photographer, they just lower the price, which brings down the whole photography pricing. So I think that in our local market, I think it will change. Also, what else? I don't know, beef, or not beef, but I mean, photographers competing with each other. That's
Absolutely.
also a big thing.
Yeah, so in terms of price corrections, do you think that needs to change organically? Because this is a big argument I had with a person. So pricing, generally speaking, is low and people are undercutting themselves. But how do you specifically fix that? Like, do you teach people about organizing their own price packaging, as it relates to the market? or do you want to have the idea of a regulatory body, like a government body that regulates photographers and artists here in South Africa?
Yeah, that's actually quite a deep question you're asking me there. It's very vast.
It is vast, yeah. I think there are pros and cons to both sides of the argument. Now, to have a regulatory body, that can help, but with that, that's just an extra system that we need to enter and probably have to pay a fee towards. And like you need to be subscribed to a program, and only then can you be a photographer, quote unquote, if you have a certification from this governing body. So it's
Yes.
too many hoops to jump through to qualify as a photographer if you want to, receive help, in terms of setting prices, etc. So I do think organic changes, actually talking about this and reaching out to people and saying, hey, you are undercutting for the following reasons. Like you can see the market value, you can see, well, in terms of everything else, you can relate to this to a lot. So to having proper conversations with people instead of forcing people in one direction. Yeah, so it's just about having a dialogue and showing people the way instead of having this lurking governing body that's going to regulate everything.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, so I don't know if you have any opinions about that. Like, which would you prefer? Just like organic changes from within,
I think
or
organic,
like a top level, like
I
support
think
system?
organic would be a bit better. Yeah, I think, like you mentioned before, there would be way too many loopholes and things with that, with the whole governing body. I've never actually thought about the governing body. It's the first time I'm hearing about it now. I never thought about doing it that way.
Yeah, some of the old heads are supporting like a regulatory body where you need to quote unquote qualify as a photographer, and once you are qualified as photographer, once you have earned that certification, now you can charge for photography, and the system itself will help you in terms of pricing or regulate pricing, so that everybody gets can play the game quote unquote fairly. But I think with a governing body, there's always opportunities to sneak some whatever nasty business into that. So I'm not a big fan of the idea whatsoever. All right. So Jay is very active in the comment section. So one thing that we never talk about is the computer one use. If it is calibrated, etc., how do you make sure that your colors are not saturated, etc.? Most people still look on their phones. It's very something that nearly got me to quit photography. It's the inaccurate colors everywhere. So you spend a couple of hours trying to edit a photo only for a different computer to show different colors. It's very, very agitating. So what is your, how did you calibrate your monitors, and how do you make sure that everything is picture perfect?
Yeah, I calibrated with Spider. Not as much as I should be doing it, but I calibrate my monitor with the Spider calibration tool. But I think it also depends on which device you're looking at it. Because it might seem fine here and it might seem fine on my phone. It goes to your phone or your PC, it's going to look completely different depending on how your system is set up.
Yeah, that's very annoying. Yeah. So I have my laptop, I have my monitor, I have a couple of monitors in the study and my smartphone. The image will look different on all of them. So I do know with the editing computer that is calibrated using the Spider. So I know at least safely within my heart, just to calm myself down. If that image looks good on that monitor, then I know it's not my fault if the image looks a bit wonky somewhere else.
Yeah.
All right. So comment from Mark. Clients want the best quality but not willing to pay for it. Taking into consideration the money you spend on equipment to deliver these quality images. Yeah, it's, I think this relates to the conversation we had about setting prices and price packaging. So it's obvious that as a photographer you need to earn a salary, not just a profit. Like you need to earn a salary.
Exactly.
So making R100 profit at the end of the month, after calculating all of the money that you spend on equipment, that's not really moving forward. So to earn a salary, that is the end goal. And this is why we need to price X amount for our photo shoots. You're not just buying back your camera in a manner of speaking. Like you need to live off this money.
Exactly.
Yeah. So people need to, we can have a conversation about it in the near future, in terms of setting up price packaging and whatnot. Like we'll find a couple of people to have this conversation with. But it's
I
very
think you
important,
should.
just
I
moving
think you
forwards
should.
in terms of. Sorry, just go ahead.
No, I think you should
Mm.
like have an episode with regards to pricing, because I think a lot of people struggle with pricing, like
Hmm.
how to price and how much to price. So if you have like a segment where you just talk pricing and how to price and how to go about calculating the prices, I think that would also educate and help a lot of people.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, well, give it a thought. We'll see what we can do in the near future, but definitely keen on doing that. Comment from Courtney here. Very interesting subject, compliance. In real estate, you have to attend an exam. With photography, everybody picks up a camera, by mom's conference, etc. Say they take great photographs. That isn't the truth. Yeah, so there are pros and cons to both ways of this debate. Yeah, so I think I lean towards organic growth. Maybe a bit of chaos is necessary up front. So people are going to undercut and undercharge. And as you mentioned, Courtney, every second person with a camera will call themselves a photographer. But maybe all of this chaos is necessary for us to self-organize, for there to be an organic pathway forward instead of one that is top-down. And as we often know, if there is top-down involvement, things do tend to go, against people. Yeah, so big conversation that one, but I think, as I said a couple of times over, I think I much prefer a bottom-up solution where, invite a bit of chaos, but from that we will tend to self-organize. And I think that is true of the South African industry as well. Just allow people to do what they need to do, and let's see what happens from there. Obviously, provide advice, provide organic advice, but I don't specifically need or require like a top-down thing that's going to tell us how to do and how to approach things.
Yeah.
Okay, so where do you see yourself in the next 2 to 5 years? So let's start off small. What do you have planned for the near future? So within this quarter of the year, and where do you see yourself within the next 2 to 5 years?
Yeah. In the near future, I think basically just because I've been slacking off, like last year was a terrible year for me. So I've been slacking off a lot with regards to my photography. But this year I plan to like get back on par with where I used to be and just start shooting a lot more and getting a lot more exposure and posting more and just being more active in the whole photographic industry. Long term, I think, no, I don't know. I never actually thought about it. Where do I see myself? Hopefully, it's doing something awesome. I don't know.
That's right. Yeah, it's perfectly fine not having like a 5-year goal. You're allowing things to grow incrementally one at a time, because often if you are very strict with your goals, one doesn't allow for organic growth in the meantime. So as is often the case in stories, all of our favorite movies and favorite novels, it's not the destination that's important, it is the journey. So as long as what you mentioned, just keeping yourself busy, making sure that you are indeed taking photos and posting and talking to people, from there, natural growth will occur. And as quoted in Lord of the Rings, you don't always know where the wind may sweep you up. Yeah, so don't be bothered if you don't have that like definite 5-year or 10-year goal in mind.
Yeah.
Just make sure that you are busy and allowing yourself to learn and soaking up good advice here and there and meeting good people along the way. Organic growth will happen as long as you are mindful of growing and not always repeating mistakes, because repeating a mistake, that is the mistake. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. It is something that some people are very good at. They like making mistakes because now they know what not to do. So don't be afraid of making mistakes. So just put yourself out there in the world and one feet in front of the next, and things generally do happen in a positive way. What advice would you give aspiring photographers out there? So newbie photographers, what advice would you give them?
For aspiring photographers, basically somebody that's starting off, I think the first step would be obviously to shoot in manual. Get off auto, get off the custom buttons, learn to shoot in manual, know your gear, You don't want to be on a
Mm.
shoot and you're looking for this setting and that setting. So know your camera
Yes.
inside and out. Understand light. Um, understand quality of light, direction of light. One thing I used to do in the past was I'd be walking at work or at the mall or wherever, and then I just train myself to look for light. So I see little pockets of light or reflections of light, or if it's hard light or soft light, and then I picture myself shooting in that situation. Where would I place the model in this specific light? How would I pose the model in this light? Where would I be standing with regards to the light? So it was just a way of me to practice shooting while I'm not shooting. As you're walking, you're just always aware of the light around you. And then
And it's just as stated here by a sister, make sure you're not walking into a tree. So here with the question, have you ever found yourself wandering around mentally composing your next masterpiece while accidentally walking into a tree? How is it finding new locations to shoot in the surrounding area? So just on topic with what you mentioned there, just as you are walking about constructing your next masterpiece in your mind, just make sure not to walk into a tree. I don't know if that relates to a true story. If your sister is sneaking in an embarrassing story, perhaps, yeah.
no, I don't think that happened, or I don't remember
Okay.
that. But finding locations, I think with you being in Uitenhage, it's I'll be very, very limited with regards to locations. There's not much. That's always the whole forest look, the whole forest vibe. But generally, I'll just take a drive around. Like Sunday afternoon, I'm not doing anything. I'll just take a drive. You know, the road's less traveled. Take this turn, take that turn, and just drive around and see what there is.
Yeah, absolutely. From Jay here, talking about shooting manual. Do you make your own presets or shoot with the built-in film simulation? So I think this is a Fuji thing. So with the film simulation, classic Chrome maybe.
Classic Chrome, exactly. That's 90% of the time I'm shooting in Classic Chrome. It doesn't really matter because it's just for the JPEGs, but Classic Chrome. But with the XT5, I'm also loving the whole Classic Negative as well. So yeah, that's
Interesting.
combinations.
Now, I do have some presets on my Pentax here as well, but it looks incredibly cheesy. Like nothing but looks genuine. It looks like you fed a JPEG through many filters, and it looks horrible. So I'm quite jealous of the Fuji presets as well. So
Yeah,
maybe one day I'll move on. But yeah, quite happy with the Pentax in the meantime. All right, so people out there in the comment sections watching, this is your last opportunity to ask a question or two. So I think we've basically come to the end of our chat. So I don't know if you have any shout outs, maybe people who helped you out on your journey that you want to say thank you to.
Okay, first of all, I think my two beautiful boys, Saeed and Ayan, love them to bits. They're going to be watching. My eldest actually asked me now for the link, but there wasn't enough time to send it. But my sister, shout out to my sister. She has been my biggest supporter since day one. And then photographers, I think two of the most influential probably be Mr. Courtney Whitaker and Marty Marie, good friend of mine. And then to all my family and friends that know me, like much love for always supporting me. It's I really appreciate it.
And we appreciate you. Thank you so much, Rais. Thank you for joining us. So thank you
Thanks
for all of
for
the
being there.
insightful comments as well. It's been a blast. Just to touch on something that you mentioned. So this conversation will be on YouTube forever. So if people have joined late, or if you want to send a link to somebody to watch it from the beginning, it's going to be on YouTube so people can catch up. So don't worry if you have joined late or want to watch it afterwards. Just go on to CameraStuff's YouTube channel and also subscribe. Keep in touch in terms of our future live sessions as well. So again, thank you so much. Thank you so much for not only giving us your talents for us to look at. You're an exceptionally talented photographer. Thank you for sharing that passion. Thank you for sharing your skills, and also here having conversations about it as well, providing insights and providing advice as well. It is something that we all desperately need. So thank you for your participation there. One question, actually. Last question. Hi, congrats on the feature. How do you find the X-T5 compared to the X-T3? Okay, so this is going to be our last question, and then we're going to say our good nights.
Look, I haven't really spent much time with the X-T5. I got it like recently. I think it was last week. But the image quality I can see is a lot better with the 40 megapixel camera. I think the only thing I dislike of the X-T5 is the fact that I can't get a vertical grip. Like I've been so spoiled with my vertical grip on my X-T3. But I'm loving it so far. It's awesome. The autofocus is a lot better. But it's, yeah, both of them are still awesome cameras. Yeah, I love them both.
Okay, thank you so much, Rais. Thank you for this wonderful conversation. I think that's going to be it from our side. So, Conrad, on behalf of CameraStuff, thank you for joining. We'll continue doing these live interviews. Next week will be another session as well. We're going to try and do this more often as well. So if you do have recommendations or people that you want us to interview, please do drop us a message at CameraStuff. You can do so via WhatsApp or the live chat feature on the website as well. Thank you yet again. That's going to be it from our side. Thank you, Rais, for joining. Thank you to you, all of the people out there in Facebook and YouTube land. We'll see you next time. Cheerios and good night.